chapter 1, verse 40 to 42. The Bible says, a man with leprosy came and knelt before Jesus, begging to be healed. If you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean, he said. Moved with compassion, Jesus reached out and touched him. I am willing, he said, be healed. Instantly, the leprosy disappeared and the man was healed. When you go back to the biblical background of this time, that's when you can better understand what has just happened. And I want to give you a background of how it was. What was like to be somebody with leprosy? Lepers were unclean, unwanted, and unwanted at the same time. Lepers were excluded. They were separated from the community, and they had to live alone outside the camp or outside where people were living. They needed to wear torn clothes. They needed to keep their hair or their head shaved. And they were supposed to cover their lip. They were supposed to announce and they shout wherever they are going that we are rebels and we are unclean. So they wore black garments to ensure others can recognize them. And they lived in rebel houses. If they were to attend church services, or rather the synagogue or houses of worship of that time, they were not supposed to be where other people are worshiping. They were supposed to just peep from a very small space opening called the leper squint. Leprosy during the biblical times was regarded as a living death. In biblical times, if you have received a diagnosis of leprosy, that was simply a death sentence in every sense of it. You were regarded physically death, socially, economically, and spiritually death. During the Middle Ages, specifically, the priests could bring lepers into a church or a place of worship and conduct a funeral service for them while they were still alive. At that time, lepers were considered to be people who were already dead, even if they were still alive. So this is the background that you need to understand so that you can better appreciate what Jesus did here. When you study the miracles of Christ, clearly this stands out very well. This incident where Christ healed the lepers is the one, in my opinion, with the clearest picture of who Christ is. He did not turn this man away. And remember, this man who had leprosy, he was not supposed to be near Christ. But he broke the law and came and knelt before Christ. Actually, he was supposed to be killed by doing that. But he came and he knelt before Christ. And then Christ did something very extraordinary. He touched the leper. You were not supposed to do that. So the act of Christ not turning away someone who has broken the law is giving us a picture of who Christ is. The leper had no right to speak to Christ, yet Christ responded to the desperation of human needs with deep compassion. And Christ stretched out his hand and touched this man. Although he was clearly considered unclean, it was a very serious crime for him to touch this leper. But to Christ, this leper was considered somebody who needs help. The way Christ looked at this man, he looked at him as simply a human soul in desperate of help. I would want us to focus on the 4 lessons that really stand out from this experience. The first one is the compassion and the empathy of Christ. Christ showed love and acted in response to the need of this leper. This highlights his deep compassion for human suffering. He was moved with compassion and he touched this man who had a disease that was so bad that you were considered to be dead while you were still alive. The leper pleaded, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." Immediately Christ replied, "I am willing." This response here shows the readiness of Christ to heal and restore. That as soon as the request for restoration was put in place, Christ immediately responded and healed this person. Another lesson that really stands out is how Christ broke the barriers that existed. Jesus touched a leper, breaking the social and religious rules that said people with leprosy were unclean and should be isolated. This action of Christ touching the untouchable shows that Christ is willing to connect with those who are marginalized and who are regarded as outcasts in the society. It is highlighting to us that there is nobody who's beyond the grace of God. Christ cares about the marginalized, people that we regard as of no value. Christ will care, if it is in our time, will care for the homeless people. People that when you pass or you're driving around, you don't even think about them. Christ will think about his people. Christ will take time and respond to their needs. Christ will mingle with these marginalized groups. Christ will go and eat with these people who may look to be dirty and people we may not want to associate with. Another lesson that really stands out is the demonstration of the authority of Christ. Remember, Christ said, "Be healed, be clean," and instantly the leprosy disappeared and the man was healed. This is a clear demonstration of the authority of Christ. That Christ has authority over sickness and any type of impurity that we may think about. And all he needs to do is to speak a word. His word is a word of healing. His word is a word that can bring somebody who is from the realm of uncleanness, of impurity, to the realm of purity and cleanness. And this can only happen because of the authority that God has. He has authority in the whole world. That's why the Bible says that I have overcome the world. I have authority over the world. And so Christ was able to say just the word, "Be clean." And instantly the leprosy disappeared. This can only happen if you have a divine authority, and Christ had a divine authority to do that, and he did that. So the healing of these men who had leprosy provided not just about physical health, it symbolized a deeper cleansing from sin as well. This cleansing points to the ultimate forgiveness that Christ offers through his sacrifice. He was able to remove somebody who was unclean to be clean. The same way, we are naturally born unclean spiritually. Christ is able to make us clean if we believe in him. Another lesson that stands out is the restoration of these men to the community of common people. And we are seen in the background, laborers were not supposed to stay with other people. They were staying outside the human community. But when this labor was healed, he qualified to come back to the human society. So he encountered a restoration. Leprosy caused social isolation. So when Christ healed the leper, he not only restored the physical health of this person, but he brought him back into his community. The person was reaccepted again to the community. So this is a lesson to us that Christ has a mission to heal and restore all parts of our lives, including the social connections and spiritual well-being. Because remember, the labor during those times, you were regarded spiritually dead, socially dead, physically dead, and even economically dead, because nobody was gonna to hire you if you were a rebel. So the same thing happens to us. When we encounter Christ, Christ is able to heal and restore all parts of our lives. All we need to do is to go to Christ. The same way the leper went to Christ. And with hope and expectation, the leper brought the desires that he had to Christ. And Christ was able to heal him. Jesus' healing of a man with leprosy is a clear demonstration of his compassion and authority. It is highlighting his willingness to help those who are marginalized. This story is reminding us of God's love. He loves to reach out to anybody who is suffering and who needs healing and restoration. And this is an encouragement to trust Christ's ability and a desire to fix broken things. And in this evening, once again, I'm inviting you to taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. Thank you.